So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the second canto, chapter 1, text 28, the first step in God realization. Text number 28, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. The chest of the original personality of gigantic form is a luminary planetary system. His neck is the Maha planets. His mouth is Jana's planets, and his forehead is a Tapas planetary system. The topmost planetary system, known as Satyaloka, is the head of he who has 1,000 heads. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The effulgent luminary planets, like the sun and the moon, are situated almost in the mid-place of the universe, and as such they are to be known as the chest of the original gigantic form of the Lord. And above the luminary planets, called also the heavenly places of the universal directive demigods, are the Maha, Janas and Tapas planetary systems. And above all, the Satyaloka planetary system, where the chief directors of the modes of material nature reside, namely Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva. This Vishnu is known as Shiragagasha Vishnu, and he acts as a super soul in every living being. There are innumerable universes floating on the causal ocean, and in each of them the representation of the Virat form of the Lord is there, along with his innumerable sun, moons and heavenly demigods, Brahmas, Vishnus and Shivas, all of them situated in one part of the inconceivable potency of Lord Krishna, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10:42. Narayan namaskita naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jet mudirayet nasta presu bhadresu nityam bhagavate sevayam bhagavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavati nastaki. I was just asked to fill in the gap. The speaker didn't come, so I'll try my best to give some realization with all of your blessings. From this purport, we can see one thing: how there's a personality behind everything. In the purport, it explains the universal form. In the Bhagavad Gita, it gives some understanding of this, that this form is not eternally existing in the spiritual world. It's a manifestation of the material world, this universal form. And although it explains how whether one worships the universal form or Krishna's two-handed form in Vrindavan, the demigods are satisfied with that, because Krishna is absolute in any of his features. He's not part of the material world. So even it says in Bhagavad Gita purport, 9 chapters, I think Prabhupada explains there's 3 levels of devotees who worship the Lord, which are in a lower category, and one of them worships himself as the Supreme Lord, another worships his understanding of who he thinks is God, pantheism, and the highest is he worships the universe as the Supreme Lord. So out of the 3, the one who worships the universe is considered the highest. Because even the universe is also non-different from Krishna in that Krishna enters the universe through his expansions. Like the Mahavishnu is the one who creates unlimited universes from his pores coming out. Then Garbhodaka Vishnu, he creates the diversities in the universe, like the water is sanctioned and he fills half of it with water and then he lays down on it. And then the Kshirodakasha Vishnu, he is lying on the ocean of milk, and he's a super soul of all living entities. So With connection to Krishna, Krishna has nothing to do with the material creation. He's there in the spiritual world enjoying. But he does everything through his expansions. An example can be given, just like a rich person who's running a big corporative business. His presence is felt in his big business, but he's not personally there, but people feel his presence. So that's a little shadow example of it. But Krishna is personally present in his expansion. He's personally there within his creation. Example can be given just like a flower has a smell coming from it. The flower and the smell is one, but different also. The flower is a substance and the smell is a fragrance. So Krishna's creation with the material world is something like that. That although nothing happens without his sanction, but at the same time everything is happening under his direction. Although he's not personally present within the creation as in his original form, but he is still present according to those who have devotion towards him. He manifests within the heart towards them. He gives direction within the heart, and he sends his devotees. The deity form is also non-deformed Krishna. He guides like that. But it also explains in the I think in this second canto, and also in the 11th canto, 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, explains that even to see this universal form, unless one has devotion, he cannot be qualified to see that form. You should fold your legs better, because the devotion has to be there. Without devotion, Krishna is not manifest, and that's also shown in the Mahabharata, how for those who had devotion, Krishna bestowed mercy on them. Even though they had different views, but because they were open for mercy, Krishna gave it to them. Example can be given like Dronacharya. He went against the Krishna, against the Pandavas, and at some point Bhima started chastising Dronacharya, telling him that what kind of Brahmana are you? You went against Krishna. You misguided your son. You didn't train him properly. You're not living up to a Brahmana. You're going against dharma. So because Krishna told the Pandavas that we have to somehow get Dronacharya to drop his weapons, otherwise our army will be finished. So Bhima went and he chastised Dronacharya like this. So Dronacharya, he had some morality behind him in terms of he had affection toward the Pandavas. So when Bhima chastised him, he dropped his weapons. And then, and because he listened to Bhima, then he attained the destination of Vaikuntha. So we can see how those who are open for the mercy, Krishna is reciprocating. But this universal form, which is mentioned in this chapter, is in this purport, is actually to attract the non-devotees, to make them purified to the point where they can understand who Krishna really is. Because the non-devotees, their vision is they want to see everything externally. They want to see everything with the external vision. And Krishna, in his deity form, even he cannot be understood unless one has some understanding and knowledge behind and devotion behind that. So the universal form is there to attract the non-devotees, to make them into devotees in a gradual way. Now, in this purport, he explains about the different planets, and it's explained how even the demigods are in the mode of goodness. They cannot understand the Supreme Lord because they're enamored by too much opulence. That's why he says, someone who's enamored by too much opulence, their vision gets covered about understanding who Krishna is. We see this even in this planet, like the Earth planet. We see people who have too much opulence. They can't take to Krishna consciousness seriously. They get too distracted with the opulence. So that's why he says one of the qualifications of Brahmana is that even if some opulence comes to him, he just takes what he needs. The rest he gives for good causes. So there's explains about the 1,000-handed form of the Lord in the purport, right? Give some comment, something that some moons and it says something about the 1,000-handed form. Universe is floating in the cosmos, each of the sun, persons. He said in translation, right? Okay. Yeah, okay, that's it, yeah. So there's a pastime how how Karna in his previous life he was a demon, and his name was forget his name, but anyway he had 1,000 arms and he was fighting with Naranarayan. And with Naranarayan fighting, he couldn't defeat Naranarayan. At some point, he entered the sun planet. So it does show that even the Supreme Lord in his other forms, he can manifest. He's got the full potency. He's not limited like us. He has an unlimited potency behind him. And eventually the Sahasrasura, that's his name, Sahasrasura, one with 1,000 arms. He couldn't defeat Narayan Rishi in the fight which was happening, and then he entered the sun planet. And then he came as Karna. And so it shows that the Lord in any of his forms he may appear like us, but he's unlimited. We are limited. Even Krishna fought with Banasura. He got a benediction from Lord Shiva. We had 1,000 arms, and he approached Lord Shiva and said, "There is no one to. I cannot fight with anyone because everyone runs away from me. And when I don't know what to do with my arms, I go to the ocean. It floods over other places and over cities and like this. I don't know how to deal with this. And because you gave me the benediction, I think you're the only one who's qualified to fight with me." The Lord Shiva was giving a blessed benediction that soon there'll come a person who will defeat you. So, in that story of Banasura, Prabhupada explains how Arjuna had also lot of strength behind him. He had a lot of strength, blessings, and but because he was Krishna conscious, he used all that for serving Krishna. Whereas Banasura, he wasn't a devotee in that sense. In a sense that, like Arjun, so he didn't know what to do with 1,000 arms, and he had a lot of pride behind him in terms of him being the center. So when Krishna came, he cut most of his arms off, and he only had 4 arms. And actually, Banasura got saved because of Lord Shiva, praying to Lord Krishna that he's my devotee. He played the drums for me when I was doing my dancing, and so and also he came in the line of Bali Maharaj, I think. He's son of Bali Maharaj, one of the 100 sons of Bali Maharaj. And so we can see from this how Krishna, in any of his features, he has unlimited strength. And the jiva, he's limited by his ability, but Krishna is unlimited. Although he may appear like us as a human form, but he's unlimited. We see Krishna's pastimes are eternally going on in different universes. They're eternally happening. And the example is given like the 6 o'clock in the morning is happening somewhere. It's never stopped. So in the same way, when Krishna does his pastimes in this universe, at some point, after going from this universe, at some point in a different universe, the pastimes is eternally going on. And the example is given like Putna is being killed on this planet. At some point in some universe, that same pastime is happening. And Krishna is lifting Govardhan Hill. At some point in some universe, that pastime is still going on. So it's like an eternal roadshow happening. And Krishna is doing that actually to reclaim the fallen souls back to him. Prabhupada gives an example. He says, people are so in their own way of thinking, of being independent from Krishna, that they're willing to live on the street and suffer in life, but they will not accept the path of Krishna consciousness. Although Krishna consciousness is a very nice, it's the best lifestyle. It's chanting, dancing, feasting. Festivals are happening every month. You get to see the Lord dressed in different dresses every day. Krishna is dressed in different dresses every day. You get to hear about the different pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam of different incarnations. So it's like not being part of the material world. You're living in the spiritual world just by doing this process. So it's given in chapter 2, chapter 10, text 2 of Bhagavad Gita that unless someone hears about Krishna from a devotee or Krishna himself, one cannot understand who Krishna is. So even applies to demigods and others who are open to hear about Krishna, they can understand him. Otherwise, they can't. Even though they may be in a mode of goodness, but mode of goodness is like a springboard. It's like example is given. You're going to the airport. Unless you have a flight, there's no point going to the airport. So more Guna is like going to the airport. So unless you have a flight going somewhere, then you can't go to more pure goodness, something like that. So this is how the demigods get stuck in their own position. It's like Prabhupada gives an example in the Krishna book how the demigods are like chained up. They don't have much freedom like the humans do. They're chained up in their positions to a long time until they live a long life compared to us. So they live like 6 months here is 1 day there. So they live 10,000 years of that time. So our life is like very short for them. It's like Jai Shri Radha Gokulanda ki Jai. So their life is for them, seeing us is like very short life. It's insignificant. So this particular time is mentioned, like he's explaining the purport here about the different planets. Because it says Lord Chaitanya's coming is very rare. Even Krishna's coming is very rare. He says there is the four yugas, the Satya Yuga, the Treta Yuga, the Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Multiply 1,000 times, it comes to 4.23 billion years of the earthly time. So Lord Krishna is coming, and Lord Chaitanya is coming. Is only within that 1 day of Brahma. So it's very rare. And he says that the 10,000 years which Lord Chaitanya's mission is going on for in Kali Yuga, the 10,000 golden age period, for the demigod is only like 30 years of their time. That 10,000 period. It's not a very long time actually for them. So he says the demigods, they're queuing up to take birth in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Because there's a pastime with Lord Chaitanya how one time, this is when he was Nimai Pandit, he was with his students and they found some puppies, and Nimai Pandit chose the best puppy out of all the puppies and he took it to his house and he tied it up. So the other students, they told Sachimata, look, your son has tied a puppy in the house. So Sachimata came, what's happening, what are you doing, Nimai? So she untied the puppy and he was running down the village like that. And all of a sudden, a plane from Goloka came and the puppy entered that plane, attained his spiritual form, and he went back to Goloka. So all the demigods praying to Lord Chaitanya, as you gave mercy to this puppy to achieve Goloka, please give us mercy. So that shows how this particular time period is a very special time period. And he says the golden age is only for those who take to it. Because now it's already happening. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is there and it's already going on. And those who take to it, they can achieve the highest perfection very quickly. He says in other ages to achieve perfection is not so easy. Like it says in Satya Yuga, people live for 100,000 years. And I was hearing a lecture by Gauranga Prabhu, he gave an example on this, to this point to show how the material world is so contaminating that like King Dashrath, he lived for 60,000 years as a king. And but he didn't have any children to carry on his heritage as a king. King required children to carry on the heritage. So even with that 60,000 years, he was dissatisfied. until the point where he did that sacrifice of getting the sons of Lord Ram, Shatrugnath, Bharat, and Lakshman. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then even after that, so he get the point in this point that even the material desires were disturbing him, that he could not get someone to take over his kingdom, even after 60,000 years of rule. So this is the situation in the material world, how the contamination is there. You get affected by material desires if you don't take to spiritual life. The living entity he's not dead toned. He's got feelings. He got emotions, and so he has. If he channels those emotions to Krishna, then he'll become fully self-satisfied. Otherwise, the modes of nature will disturb him. They'll take him on a different way of journey, and he'll get affected in different ways. So that shows how even it says that those who want to attain the Brahman, they have to come back to the material world. Because attaining the Brahman is like sitting in a chair by yourself in a room. How long can you sit in a chair by yourself in a room? You may get peace and quietness, but how long can you sit in the chair by yourself? We are pleasure-seeking living entities. So that pleasure is coming because Krishna is ultimately the pleasure of he's a source of all pleasure. And we've come to the material world because we wanted to be like Krishna. And Krishna being kind, he allowed us this facility to show us that we cannot enjoy separately from him. And there's a verse in Krishna boliye ji bhoge vancha kare maya japete kare, that the living entity, as soon as he turns his back on Krishna, then the three modes of nature affect him. When the three modes of nature affect him, then he becomes averse to Krishna. And he thinks, why should Krishna be the center? I want to be the center. So, this is why Prabhupada emphasized reading his books. So we can have clear vision in terms of how to overcome the modes of nature. And also, Prabhupada emphasized we should make the scriptures our eyes. We shouldn't depend on the mundane eyes. The mundane eyes have 4 defects: tangent, cheat, make mistakes, be illusion, imperfect senses. The scriptures are not different from Krishna. We read them, we discuss them, then our vision becomes more clear. And in this way, we can go more deep into our practices of Krishna consciousness. Any comments or questions? Okay, there's a question here.
Yeah, probably talk louder. 1, 2. Is that better? Okay. Oh, we're online as well. Incredible. Amazing. Hello, everyone online. Thank you for the lesson, and sorry for my ignorance in this question because it's from someone who's very new to this. But you mentioned Brahman?
Brahma, yeah.
Brahma. And I can relate to what you're saying because I've had a spiritual experience myself where I became one with everything.
Brahman, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just walking through a park one day, and suddenly I disappeared, and I just became everything. And it lasted for about 3 weeks, and I had everything but nothing.
That's it, that's the experience.
So I had everything, and if I wanted something I could think of it, and it was here, but it was nothing. And I had just read the Bhagavad Gita, which Ian had sent to me, and it mentioned almost like layers, and Brahman being one of them, one of these realizations. And I recognized that. I said, oh, finally I'm not alone. I've seen something which, validates this experience, because not many people in the world understood what I was talking about when I said this to them. So I was wondering, what is the next phase from Brahman? Because it didn't feel like I could go. It felt like that was everything. But when you said the Brahman has to come back even to enjoy, that's what I almost feel like is happening in my life now. That because I had this state where I was just completely at peace, it was so boring.
Yeah. It's true.
It was like, oh, I can have as much money, I can go to any country, I can do what I want.
Yeah.
But it was almost sad. So I was just wondering if that question makes sense.
Yeah.
What is above Brahman?
Well, in there's a book called the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It's the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. It gives you, this is Parikshit Maharaj. He spoke to his mother Uttara. Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And before he left his body, his mother, Parikshit Maharaj's mother, asked him, give me the essence of what you heard from Sukadeva Goswami. So he spoke the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It's a 3-volume book. And in there, this is a story of Gop Kumar. He's a cowherd boy from Vrindavan. And he gives his journey, how he goes to the higher planets. And at some point, he attains the Brahman. He goes to the Brahman. And in the Brahman, he could... relationship with Krishna was there, but not so clearly. It was very vague. So the same experience what you went through, he went through that. And then I think Lord Shiva came down and instructed him that actually this is not the place for you. You come back to Vrindavan. So this like Prabhupada gives an example. He says, like, if you're flying in the sky, the same example, at some point you have to land at some planet. You can't just fly in the sky eternally. So we are social beings, we have relationships. So we are Anandamaya, we are pleasure seeking. So Brahman is just one phase of it, it's just full of bliss and knowledge, but there's no relationship with Krishna. So because that relationship is lacking, that's why you feel empty. That's understanding.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Ian's go on.
Yeah, so just based on that, so going to the Brahman, he's feeling empty. So what's the higher or the much better resolution for a person like that to work on?
Well, he has to understand who Krishna is. Because even Paramatma realization is not complete. And there's an example of that. When Krishna was in Dwarka, there was one person, he was meditating on the Brahman, impersonal aspect. But when he saw Krishna walking in Dwarka, he could see that actually my meditation is not complete. When I see Krishna, I feel more satisfied. This nectar of devotion is given like that. So that shows that just understanding who Krishna is you feel more complete. you're more satisfied. Because we are pleasure seeking, we want relationships. Any other comments or questions? Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Prabhupada ki jai.